So I've been watching some of the media coverage of the Freedom Convoy happening up in Canada, and I have questions. Is the media living in bizarro world? Just listen to some of this coverage of the Freedom Convoy.
The sound is deafening, and yet protesters are demanding to be heard. All day long, and at all hours of the night, those with the so-called Freedom Convoy say they're staying put until vaccine mandates are dropped, the masks come off, and life returns to the way it was.
The so-called Freedom Convoy. Just listen to the disdain in this woman's voice. It is palpable.
We're asking for our freedom. That's all we want.
So they've been free to park big rigs right next to the Prime Minister's office, free to set up camp in front of the country's national parliament. Ottawa police say they have learned much in the past week, especially after reports of assaults, intimidation, and allegations of hate speech and symbols.
Our goal is to end the demonstration.
To try and do that, they have called in more reinforcements, moving to what they call a surge and contain strategy. But the police chief warns,
this remains, as it was from the beginning, an increasingly volatile and increasingly dangerous demonstration.
I find it interesting listening to the language that they use to describe these protesters. They use words like volatile and dangerous to describe a group of peaceful protesters demonstrating against government mandates and government control of their lives. In fact, why don't we take a look at some of these violent extremists? Oh no! Quick, call the police! They're violently dancing and singing in the streets! These extremists are uncontrollable! Oh, look at these violent extremists shoveling snow! And ladies and gentlemen, I have to warn you before I show you this next extremist. This may be the most terrifying violent extremist in the Freedom Convoy protest. So brace yourselves. Terrifying. The media narrative is just ridiculous. Again, I ask, are they living in bizarro world?
Officials say several investigations are underway into reports of severe vandalism and criminal behavior, including the desecration of national monuments. Meanwhile, Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson said some protesters harassed a soup kitchen, demanding free meals because their refusal to wear masks meant they were not to order in restaurants.
So these anti-vaxxers actually took food from the mouths of the homeless.
Hungry, yeah.
Because they're so put upon.
Yeah.
It's a cult.
Yes, it is.
The rhetoric that we're seeing, hanging politicians, driving trucks through 16-foot walls, this kind of stuff is disturbing and definitely will be on the minds, I think, of security officials going forward.
These are not violent extremists. These are peaceful protesters standing up for their God-given rights. And I find it kind of funny how they're covering this protest when their coverage of the BLM quote-unquote peaceful protests was completely different. Do you remember this?
This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protesters.
Peaceful protest. Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest. Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protesters.
So let me get this straight. Peaceful protest. Violent extremists. Peaceful citizens standing up for a righteous cause.
The reason why is because we burned down that fucking precinct. No amount of peaceful protest will get us to justice in this cruel, grotesque, settler, colonial, white supremacist society. No amount of reform is enough. Only complete and total abolition. Build barricades, burn precincts, reappropriate what they've stolen for you for thousands of generations. And show absolute hate to those who oppress us. Power to the looters, power to the rioters. Say his name! Say his name! Say his name!
Volatile and dangerous cult. I think you get the point, ladies and gentlemen. The legacy media, mainstream media, whatever you want to call them, are absolute hypocrites, and once again are lying to their audience. I've said it before and I will say it again. The legacy media has absolutely zero credibility left, and we are not buying this bullshit. So once again, I have a simple message to the legacy media. Thou may ingest an entire satchel of Richards. And to the Freedom Convoy in Canada and those popping up all over the world, I say to you, stay strong. The freedom-loving people of the world see what is going on, and millions upon millions are starting to add their voices to the choir. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go, Brandon. Truck Fudo, let freedom ring, and keep on trucking.